Hey there, this is Christy Matthews, ChristyJMatthews.com. Hope you're having a great day. So actually yesterday seemed like it was longer than that. I listened to a podcast by Ed Mylett. Now, Ed Mylett is one of the mentors that I follow, and he's kind of more of a mindset type of coach, and he has a group called Maxout. So I'm inspired by today's video, and I wanted to share, I'm inspired to do today's video based on what Ed had shared in his 30-minute podcast. So I've taken copious notes, and I wanted to share this with you. So the topic today is, do you have a system, a strategy, or process for solving problems? So do me a favor. If you do, would you comment yes in the comments below? Or no, leave a comment. One way or another, let me know if you have a process or strategy, something that you do when problems arise. I'd love to know what that is. So I happen to believe that we all do, but we may not recognize it as a system. It may be more of a pattern behavior, or behavior pattern, I should say. So here's one of the mistakes that a lot of us make, me included, is that we expend 90% of our energy into the problem rather than on the solution. And I know for myself, once I realize, gosh, I'm really tired, I want to take a nap, and I sit back and realize what is really happening here, then I realize, hey, I'm just putting too much energy into the problem. Sorry, I'm just adjusting the lights there. So here's just some rules and some notes that Ed shared. And if you don't know Ed's story, you've got to go back and look at this. I mean, he is just amazing. The transformation he's made in his life over the last 20, 30 years. I mean, you really got to hear his story. And I'm trying to keep this video short, so I'm not going to get into that. It's definitely worth listening to. So here's a few notes. You want to consider problems and challenges as growth opportunities, and it's not a rah-rah thing. There is something that we can learn from every problem that we encounter. And I know that to be true for myself. I always say, I wonder what kind of lesson I'm going to get from this problem. And it seems like the bigger the problem, the bigger the lesson. So can you relate to that? So all of our problems can be solved in a 3-step process, or it's a 3-step formula. First of all, we need to make a decision about the solution. So we can sit and marinate ourselves in the problem, or we can decide to solve the problem. Right there, right from the get-go, we can stop expending a tremendous amount of our energy on the problem and start putting it into the solution. We want to take massive certainty about the decision that we make in the first step. So we have to get to a point of making a decision. So we have to decide to solve the problem. Some of us don't want to solve our problems. Have you heard of the word drama? That's where that comes from. So we want to avoid the drama, and we want to try to solve the problem. Third, we want to take massive action and flood ourselves with the certainty of the decision that we've made. In other words, you got to believe in the decision that you made. You're never going to have a perfect plan, and a perfect plan that is made with doubt is way worse than executing a flawed problem or flawed plan with massive action. Think about that. Isn't that true? So 85% of our problems should be dealt with immediately. They should not even be given the opportunity to suck our energy. Never. So no procrastination, and no ignoring or wishing that the problem is going to go away. Does that hit a chord? I know it has to. I've talked with so many people, and I am guilty of that myself, is that sometimes if we just ignore the problem, it's going to go away. Let's bring this into reality. You know that you've got bald tires on your car, but you ignore it, but you don't have the money for the tires. So you ignore it and hope that the problem goes away, and then you end up with the blowout, or you get into an accident or cause another accident because you chose to ignore the problem in the first place or wished it would go away. I know that's an extreme thing, but look at how many things we do in our life and just and pray that something goes away. But it's really going to take us having to put some sort of energy into the solution to solving the problem. A rule of thumb is you want to get clear on what the problem really means. Will it be important 5 years from now? Most of the time it's not. I know for myself, when I have the biggest difficulty with problems, it's usually when it hits me personally. And it may be, and when I think about it and I go back and find out where that came from, it usually comes from where I've made a major sacrifice in something and the problem has blown up, and it's usually involving somebody else, and I end up having hurt feelings. And that is something that where I have problems overcoming a problem. I just have some difficulty working through a three-step process. So I've had to acknowledge that in myself and realize that that's what happens. And I'm asking you to think about what happens with you when you just get stuck into a problem like that. Now, most of the time, our problems are caused because of uncertainty. We just don't know what to do. We're afraid to make a decision. So we need to make a decision, okay? Now, there's behavior patterns here that we need to be aware of. We want, when a problem arises, check your physiology. You can't make a decision when you're in a stressed out state of mind. Can you relate to that? When you're just so stressed out, you can't think straight. So that's not a good time to make a decision. Now, when we're focusing on a problem with aggravating pressure, like it's just dwelling and dwelling and dwelling, and it's something that's in our head all the time, you can't make a decision like that. And like I said, problems usually have some sort of meaning. And if it's something that's really giving you aggravating pressure, it's probably something that's very visceral, something that's got very deep meaning to you. Like for me, you know, as if I feel like my feelings have been hurt, or I've been attacked in some sort of way, or my integrity has been questioned, that just knocks me really hard, and I have to work on that. So you don't want to focus, generally by stressing on this, when you give the stressor power, it has got power over you. And generally there's some sort of fear of loss. So what is it that you're afraid of losing? That is generally going to help you come to the decision, the ability to make a decision once you know if there is a loss, some sort of fear of loss involved. The other thing is you want to check your breathing pattern and your physiology. Are you shallow breathing, where you're breathing just from here rather than diaphragmatic breathing, where you really get a full breath? Some people, when they're so stressed out, they're only breathing halfway, and you're not getting a really good breath. You're getting a lot of carbon dioxide in there, and it can make you a little bit goofy. And also, are you hunched over? Are you just kind of like this? It will zap your energy. So what you want to do is get up, sit yourself back like this, or get up and take a walk and get that energy out so that you can get in some good physiology. Now, 15% of our problems do require some thought. So I mentioned earlier that 85% of our problems should be dealt with immediately. You don't give them a lot of time or energy. But 15% of our problems, those are usually the biggies. They're going to require some additional planning. So here's some rules for that. There's 8 steps, okay? So first of all, you want to define what's really happening without telling the story. Ladies, this is not when you get together and go have coffee or go out and have, dinner over the situation and mull this thing over and marinate in the drama, okay? Don't do that. but you really do need to sit with yourself and define what's really happening. Okay? Take out a pad, paper, and start writing stuff down. And so, number 2, what's your clear vision of what you want when the problem is solved? What does that picture look like to you? When the problem is all resolved, what's it look like? Think about your landscape. If you have a blank landscape in your yard, isn't that a problem? What do you want it to look like when it's done? You know, so problems don't always have to be so mentally draining, but think about it like your landscape. You know, how do you want your flower garden to look, or your vegetable garden? What does it look like when it's all laid out? Get resourceful about resolving the problem. Who can help you? What resources can you tap into? What books, what notes? Can you use the internet? How can you tap into resources to help you solve the problem? So it's just not you trying to figure this thing out. With the internet today, there are so many ways to find answers to problems. Number 4, ask what I can learn from this. There is a lesson in every problem. And when we learn as we go, we are less likely to repeat that problem in the future. So kind of bask in the thought that there's an education coming from this. Way back when, I got to share a story. When I first got into real estate, I happened to have a very good year, okay? But I was so ignorant in taxes. And so when it came to file the taxes the next year, I had a tax problem that I was not prepared for, a huge tax bill, and it caused financial stress in the family. But you know what? I got really good about taxes after that. That was like, the way I looked at it, it was that was paying some life tuition for having some much needed tax education, probably some education I should have had before I embarked on the money-making side of the business. So I really understood that I had to put away some more money as I was making more money, so I didn't have a tax bill. And then, it also led to some other things on how to structure ourselves financially, how to protect ourselves with entities and so forth and so on. So that's not part of the scope of this, but I look back on that lesson in life as a very valuable lesson that has served me for 30 years. So very painful then at the time, but one I haven't repeated because I've learned. Okay, number 5, ask what's not perfect yet. What's not perfect yet about this problem? So do you have, number 6, what am I willing to do to make it the way you want it? What am I willing to do to make it the way I want it? What's the outcome that you're looking for? Number 7, what are you willing to do without compromising your integrity or spending finances that you don't have or are unable to pay back? Number 8, how can I enjoy the process? You know, this can empower you to solve problems all throughout your life with less stress. You know, unless it's absolutely threatening to you at this point in time, can you sit back and take a look at this problem and say, how am I going to learn from this? How can I enjoy this process and kind of, just be present through it and see what I can learn? How can I enjoy this? So I'm going to conclude today's video, and I hope that you're getting a lot of good tips out of this. So I just want to end with 4 rules to remember. All of our problems, especially the big problems, must be written out or typed out. The reason is that when we do that and we put it on paper, is that we take it outside of our mind and we can actually look at it and analyze it. So we're touching it, we're looking at it, rather than just playing it over and over in our head, because we're not being able to use all of our senses at that point. So engage all of your senses and help your senses resolve the problem. Number 2, have some perspective on knowing when the problem is solved. Do you know when the problem will be solved? Now, number 3, decisions are always made on probability, which means that there is no perfect decision. Isn't that comforting to know? There is no perfect decision. Absolutely not. So make the best decision and move on with it. And number 4, all decisions need value clarity. So does it match up with your value system like I mentioned before? Do you have integrity? Is it compromising anything else that goes against your values? So you must be clear on that level of importance before you can go ahead and solve a problem. So that's it. I just broke down a 30-minute podcast in what, about 10 minutes here? So let me ask you, did you get some value from today's video? If you did, would you please leave me, in fact, I'm sure you did. Please leave me a comment with one takeaway that you got from today's video. I really, really appreciate it. And also, would you mind liking or sharing this video? And if you're seeing this on YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so this way you'll get notified when I come out with more content like this. So, folks, thank you so much for joining me today. So if you're having a problem in your business that you're just stuck with, reach out to me and let's chat, because I'm sure that we can solve that problem together. So you have a great day, and thanks so much, and take care. See you next time. Bye-bye.